All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here at our third plenary session of the day. We have had a great program so far, and I hope you have enjoyed the program and lunch. Our third plenary session is going to be 5 speakers, and the first speaker is going to be William Hurley. I believe he goes professionally by Worley, if that's how it's pronounced, or May. Anyways, that's online how he goes by. He is an entrepreneur and a philanthropist. He has founded several companies and several sort of foundations or charitable efforts. He has won awards such as the Apple Design Award and the IEEE USA Entrepreneur Achievement Award for Leadership and Entrepreneurial Spirit. He's written several books, patents, and maybe the only person in the room that has produced a film that was screened at Sundance. And probably most pertinent for today, he is the founder of StrangeWorks, which is a company I'm sure we'll hear about in the talk. So thanks for joining us. Let's welcome William.
All right, woo. Hey, thank you, everyone. So first off, I have no idea where he got all of that. Some of that is news to me. But I want to start by thanking A&M for hosting this amazing event, and a round of applause for them, because IonQ and Texas Tech and a bunch of people worked very hard trying to get the Texas Quantum Initiative passed through the House and the Senate, giving testimony, working long hours, and getting this done. And they deserve a lot of applause for getting it done and getting us to where we're at. And so with that, I'll now bring the room down to a very depressive level, because I'm going to talk about the science of success, taking business from research to revenue. And the big thing that everybody is always focused on, which is money. University needs money, startups need money, customers need money to spend with the startups at the university. This is a big problem. This is something that has kind of plagued the industry and caused for a bunch of stuff. You've got, all of the people saying it's hype, and Martin Shkreli, got out of jail. Now he's trying to short all the quantum stocks and all of these things. But I think there's a big misunderstanding in what's being overhyped and what's not. And so what I'd like to do is take you kind of through a view of the industry, where we're at, where we've been, kind of where we're going, and then kind of talk about what we could all do to get us to the phase we want to. And the most important point of the talk, I'll just give you up front, is that it seems like Texas is behind because you have all these other initiatives, all this investment, all this stuff. In reality, there's a long way to go to getting these machines to where someone like me as a software engineer would consider them a real computer. And while it's, we're starting late, it's a very wide open field. And we have an opportunity for this state to lead in this field. And I really appreciate everybody from the university level to the corporate level that are trying to get us into that pole position. So with that, let's talk about the state of the industry. How many, by a show of hands, think the industry is overhyped? Really? Okay, I like that. How many? Wow, that's a little surprising, because in the last 12 months, there's been 97 world's, insert your favorite statement here, announcements, 83 groundbreaking announcements, and 61 industry-leading advancements. And so the reality is, guys and ladies and gentlemen, if that is true, the industry would be in a completely different space than it is right now, right? That's facts. And nobody wants to say that, nobody wants to hear it, but that's kind of part of my job. But the reason that is that there's a giant misunderstanding, and there's a benefit to it. This year, there's been $7.8 billion invested in the quantum space. To put that into perspective, there are 4 SPACs yet to be announced, and we will probably hit $11 billion. If we hit $11 billion by December 31st, that will be more money in 1 year than has been invested in quantum since all of the years from 2010 to the end of 2024 combined. Okay? So that's awesome, but again, this is not so awesome, but this is also misunderstood, and we're gonna talk about that. So, the articles that used to be, last year when I gave this talk, there was a bunch of articles, quantum's a bubble, quantum's hype, whatever. That's changed too, right? You now see, McKinsey saying it's a year of quantum, Microsoft talking about it, Verge, all the articles are more positive. We're in this more positive state, and that's causing for a lot of the money to come out. But we also have an economy where you have a lot of debt and a lot of liquidity, and the check sizes are just bigger naturally. So you're seeing these much bigger investments. IQM closed $320 million this month. PsiQuantum closed $1 billion, a couple of others. Quantinuum, $600 million. So you're going to see these bigger numbers, these bigger checks. And with those, I know if those of you who have seen Ghostbusters remember the scene where Dan Aykroyd says, I've worked in the private markets. They expect results. But like, there's going to be a lot of heavy expectations on $7.8 billion invested in a year, ladies and gentlemen. But this is where I want to take us. 2014, Time magazine cover. Quantum computers are here. It's the greatest change. It's happening right now. Things are taking off. This is a $1 trillion industry, right? Fast forward to 2023, Time magazine, somehow doing the same thing. Quantum computers are here. It's the machine that's right now. It's available. It's trillions of dollars of university. Go to 2025, right? New Scientist, quantum computing is finally here, okay? We don't have an industry. We have a homebrew compute club, if you want to go back to the personal compute days, and it's amazing. And it's the best time to be in it, and I love it, and I couldn't be a bigger advocate for it. But industries have money. And if you look at companies and what revenues are coming in versus government grants, where things are all fine financially, if you look at how many people are using it, if you look at the advancements, the algorithms available, there's not an industry yet. And that's good news for everyone in this room, and great news for Texas, because it means we have a chance to lead all of this. And so when you think about that, you have to start thinking about, it's not clicking for some reason. Maybe I got a dead battery or something. We'll figure it out. She'll advance it. You have to think about, what is the problem with all those numbers I showed? We have all of these advancements, but we have a big disconnect. And the reason is we're out of sync with the business world. If you are in a lab and you move an electron a few nanometers over and you hold entanglement, I understand why that is incredible. I get the science. I see these discoveries, I see these advancements, and they are amazing. But if you take that and you put it in the popular media and you go anywhere to the Global 2000, Fortune 500, Fortune 100, it doesn't mean anything. It does not land. There is a huge disconnect. And what happens is everybody says it's overhyped because I read this great thing, but I don't see this great thing happening for Fortune 100 companies, for my business, for whatever the case may be. And so this is something we can all easily combat, that we can all easily work on together, because this is super important, and that is setting expectations. And we have to separate the scientific expectations of the advancements we're making with the business expectations and the impact we claim we're going to have. And it's really that simple. And so, quantum is science, and that's part of the biggest problem. When we first started Strangeworks, every conversation went like this. We're going to do quantum computing software. And then everybody was like, spend an hour with them, you spend 50 minutes trying to get them to understand what quantum is, and they're like, yep, we're going to do a thing. It is the most fascinating field I have ever had the privilege of presenting in, of being in, of participating in, and it is amazing, and no one in the business world is going to probably ever understand it. And we have to figure out how to close that gap and bring us closer into sync. Because without those two things interoperating in the way they should in every other industry, we're going to look like fusion, okay? Really, nobody's going to love that. But, if that's science, it clicks and it doesn't. Could you click it again for me? If that's the way we're at, and we have this disconnect, we have to understand that also at this moment in time, we live in the greatest time to be alive in the history of our species, because science is now business. Whether it's AI discovering things, whether it's what quantum is going to deliver in pharmaceuticals or energy or any of the industries, a lot of them very important to Texas, this is the most amazing time to be alive, to be in this industry, to be participating. It is absolutely incredible. But again, we have to focus on those disconnects and what we're going to do. And so, can you click it again? I'll just yell click. So, we've got to educate the business world, right? We've got to educate the business world on how things are being advanced by scientific efforts. We need to get them to adopt a scientific approach, first principles, in their businesses and understand where that alignment comes and what we can deliver to them. And we need to get them to embrace the scientific process and the critical success. And if we can get those things in sync, then there will be the trillions of dollars that all of these reports talk about. There will be the world-changing advancements in maybe not curing, finding drugs for diseases, but curing them. Maybe not making battery storage better, but finding completely new forms of energy. All of the fantastic things we talk about. But we need everybody in sync to do that because the money is important. That's not true because he started a timer here. So this is the problem that we faced at the beginning of the year and last year. Businesses love AI. AI is awesome. ChatGPT is going to change the world. Let me tell you, make no mistake, we are nowhere near AGI. And I know how I can prove it because if we were, Jensen wouldn't be selling GPUs to everybody on the planet. He'd be keeping them for himself. So we have a ways to go on that. And this was a big distraction in funding. It was a big distraction in finance. However, it is something now that all the businesses are finding that if they can invest in and do a press release on, their stock goes up. But in December, we had something amazing happen, didn't we? We had Google announce the Willow chip, and their market cap went up by $300 billion overnight. And when they did, all of the publicly traded quantum stocks went up by orders of magnitude. Why? Because algorithmic traders saw the quantum, they saw Google, they saw quantum, they saw a publicly available asset, and they bought it. And this has given us an opportunity to ride a wave into the future where we can actually turn this into a viable, sustainable industry. There is enough interest in that now. But what is AI? I mean, it's kind of a science in action in business. It's automated data science. It's discovery. It's automation of complex processes. It's delivering on the one promise software is meant for. Software has one goal and one goal only, and that's the elimination of complexity. And so AI is showing that in various tasks, and therefore it's getting a lot of rep. But I think AI and quantum are kind of the same. But I want to talk about what quantum needs, and that's simple. It has to be easy and intuitive for businesses to get it. And that's going to be tough. It has to be flexible enough to work the way they work. If you think we're going to build an industry where to use the machines we deliver, you have to have a physicist or a discrete mathematician or a team of people to operate it in an enterprise, we have a total addressable market of 0. All right? That's just not going to happen. We have to understand the context of what we're working on when we do this. It can't be, let us tell you how you work on a quantum computer. It has to be almost seamless. A subject matter expert in any field is not using our software because of the pretty interface or a quantum computer because it's a quantum computer. They have a job to do. They're trying to discover the next peptide. They're trying to increase the efficiency of energy programs. They're trying to do actual work. That's what they care about. And we need to make it as seamless as possible for them. It's got to be secure. Security in quantum is a big issue nobody ever talks about. But a lot of these machines use network cards to have admin as password still. I know, I checked, right? A lot of companies don't like their data going to AI. They're not going to like it going to a quantum computer either. And there's things you can do about that. But businesses are becoming increasingly sensitive to where their data goes, who has access to it, and what it does, right? And we're pitching cloud stuff because they're big machines and cloud makes sense. We also have to have access to all of the algorithms, and there's not a lot, and we need a lot more of those. So, that, just for the record, is the 98th time world's something has been mentioned in the last 12 months. So what's quantum really need? Well, here's unhappy Einstein. We have to keep the promises that we've made. I'm not going to call anybody out, but all of you know who you are, and all of you know who everybody else is. You've seen the promises for the 10 years I've been in this industry that have been made. 2 years out, doesn't happen. 4 years out, things that get swept under the rug because we made them. The internet remembers everything, everyone. If I'm an executive or if I'm in charge of researching quantum computing as a possibility for my business, I go and I find all of that. And then that's why we get beat up and people say, quantum's been 10 years away for, 40 years. Quantum's been 3 years away for 10 years, whatever it is. We have to address these problems in the market. The cost of the machines versus time to value. Time to value is important. In an enterprise, when I worked at Tivoli, at IBM, or BMC, or any of these companies that supported the biggest enterprise companies in the world, time to value is one of the first things the CTO looks like. From the time I sign that contract, the time my people are using it and they get value out of it, is one of the most important factors. It can't be consultative. It can't be a 3-month project or a 6-month project. It has to be something that delivers near real-time immediate value, or at least perceived value. Okay? We have to have the ability to compete more with GPUs and TPUs. You see companies now, we have amazing customers from BP and J&J to Raytheon to Pepsi and all these customers, and we're seeing a trend of people saying, quantum inspired sounds good because I can just get the GPUs and do that. And I'll wait. And we went through a wait and see period about 5 years ago. And we need people to be able to adopt this. And if we're going to do that, price to performance matters. It doesn't matter if it's 1,000,000 times as fast if it costs 1,000 times as much. It will not get consumed, okay? And we have to work on quantum advantage. I would like to start in this room a motion petition that we just never say those two words again, anything, because it doesn't make any sense. Because you are never going to have a large-scale compute solution that is not heterogeneous. Ask anybody in HPC for the last 40 years. Ask anybody in advanced compute. It's going to be a quantum computer with some GPUs or TPUs, or maybe something like Cortical Labs' new biological machine. There's going to be all these different things, and it's going to play the most important part. I've been betting an amazing career on quantum's going to work for the last 10 years, and I do believe in it. But we have to understand that we are a part of solving a problem, an incredibly important part, but we have to interoperate with all of those things around us. And we're really not doing it. And when we say things like quantum advantage, what have we done for the last 10 years, till about 3 years ago? Go to an HPC conference and say you work in quantum. And you're the enemy, because what do? You say, I'm in quantum, HPC, pff, who cares? Quantum's the new HPC. It's not true. If it was true, when I went and do my quarterly patent research, I wouldn't have found over 100 patents from you guys on quantum HPC connections and ways to flow data and stuff like that. So we need to really work with the communities that are existing in all these businesses, they're existing in all these advanced compute centers and universities or companies to really bring things together. And so with that, I think these are the 4 areas we should focus on. We need to focus on faster, better research and discovery. When we go out in quantum and we talk to people as our customers, we tell them about the cold start problem. This is what we've seen over the last 10 years and have tried to fix over and over and keep improving every year. But the first thing is they don't know what to use a quantum computer for. They have to understand, this is what I'm going to do with it. Here's how I research and discover how I'm going to do that. And then once they know that, they have little to no idea how to formulate the problem for that machine, right? And they need to do that. And then you have to work on analysis and reporting so they can get some value and say, we spent $10 on quantum, we got this value, we can demonstrate it, and now, guess what? We're going to spend $20 more on quantum. And the job execution is imperative because there are so many quantum machines using so many different frameworks that they have no idea where to send this or how. And we've tried to fix part of that, but there's a long way to go. So in closing, we really need to focus on actual business value, not value we perceive as business value, as a CIO or CTO saying, I spent this money on quantum, I got this much of a return on that in this much amount of time, and this is how much more I'm spending in quantum. That has to be what we do, because without that, we're going to be the same people at the same conferences, in the same rooms, saying the same thing as we have for the last 10 years, for the next 10 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the great talk and the very well-timed talk. So we have time for questions, so don't run off too far. Any questions from the audience?
That's good, because she said 1 minute. My timer still says 2 minutes. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
Yes. So there are quantum sensing applications in the market that are profitable.
100%.
So why don't we emphasize that and say quantum computing is something development?
I think that's a great question. For those of you who couldn't hear, he said there are quantum sensing applications that are relevant in the market today. Sensing is a $168 billion a year market. 100% agree. Why don't we emphasize that? Because we're a bunch of computer nerds, sir. We don't care about the sensors or the communications. No, and when I say that, I specifically thought, that's a great point. But, I think you see companies doing that. IonQ has acquired sensing, right? Many of these companies are acquiring sensing and doing that. And I think that's part of the strategy to say, well, this is what quantum mechanics can deliver now. So my entire talk, though, is very focused on the computing aspect, which is, my favorite part. So, of course, it's the most important part, right? Yes, sir.
Can you go up to one of the mics for Q&A? There's one right behind you, I think.
Right side I'm going to be redundant again and say one of the real things why we're not making progress is because we're trying to use machines that are designed to build integrated circuits, by and large. Even those that are not using that need more precision in their optics or their electronics. We need to pay more attention to tool building that's going to enable quantum.
Oh my God, next thing you're gonna say, we need error correction and like fault tolerance and stuff. Please, sir, this is not the conference for you or I. I'll buy you a drink later if you're around. Any other questions? One quick question? You good? You good? All right, that's all we have for questions. Thank you again.